Ilkay Gündoğan has told Pep Guardiola to bring him home. In fact, I don't think he probably even said bring me home. He probably said bring mich Hause.
Ilkay Gündogan, he's coming home now. Blue moon singing down the Irwell River. He may be old now, older than the trees. Scoring in 12 seconds, bring the rags down to their knees. Guardiola, bring it Hause, and then Ort, and then Ingehore, das Etihad, and then Ort, den ich liebe, das Etihad. All my memories, Gundogan, a modest German, no stranger to blue. He's smooth and silky, and his name is Ilkay. Scoring goals comes easy, making the Scousers cry. Guardiola, bring mich Hause, and then Ort. Das Etihad, an den Ort, den ich liebe, das Etihad.
What a time it is to be a Manchester City fan. Honestly, it just gets better and better being a Manchester City fan. Trophy after trophy and all the panic. For over a year now, well over a year, City fans have debated and discussed and panicked about the idea of how do you replace Gundogan? Who is the replacement for Gundogan? Gundogan replacement. Well, the Gundogan replacement is Gundogan. Can you believe it? I do not understand. There's some mental shit goes down in football, isn't there? Absolutely insane. And I can't get over it. I know loads of you were rushing me to get that video out. Johnny, where's your Gundogan video? Where's your Gundogan video? I had to absorb this. I had to take my time, think about it, process it emotionally, have a little laugh, have a little cry, emotional roller coaster for me in the last day or two. And I mean, the thought process of Ilkay Gündoğan coming back to Manchester City is unbelievable. The guy has obviously sat there at Barcelona and watched us lose that FA Cup final. Losing the FA Cup final, and he was like, right, I'm not having this. Right, hold my bratwurst. There is no way I am allowing this to continue. We are going back to Manchester, telling his missus, doing the real thing, because reports are suggesting that his missus was actually a big reason as to why he left Manchester, because of the weather, and he's not the first husband in that situation or boyfriend in that situation to be told we're not quite keen on the weather here. Well, the man doing the man things and making sure he's getting the job done, earning that big. Hold on. Charlotte? Yeah, the man doing the man things, you know what I mean? Getting the job done, you know what I mean? Really showing who's boss, you know? Well done, Ilkay. Honestly, I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to end. I don't know what to say. It's just sheer pure excitement from the bottom of my heart to genuinely believe that this is going to happen now. Pep Guardiola's first signing for the club. First ever signing was Ilkay Gündoğan. Now, what's a terrifying thought is it could be his last as well. I mean, if we don't go and sign anybody else, well, the rumours are suggesting that we are, thankfully, fingers crossed on that one. But if we don't go and sign anybody now, after that, we don't go and buy anyone in January, because we very, very rarely do. And if Guardiola doesn't extend his contract, which I have every belief that he will, at least give us one more year, fingers crossed on that one as well, then this could be Gundogan could be Pep's last ever signing. So going from your first ever signing in the football club and your last ever signing being the same player that was your first ever signing, that's some deep meta, out of this world, mind-blowing, eye-boggling shit that is right there. The football fan knows no bounds as to the emotions that we're being tested with. And I mean, I absolutely love the idea that this guy could come in and add such a level of maturity. We know what he's got, the quality that's there as well. Reports are suggesting that his representatives are in Manchester right now, hashing out a deal with Manchester City. All other reports, and by the way, these reports are in abundance. So there's so many of them now. So many of them. Very, very reliable sources. Obviously, Fabrizio Romano was one of them, and a whole host of other sources are suggesting that this is very, very likely to happen. He does have other options, so there may be one last little detail that hopefully can get ironed out. Hopefully nothing, like no spanner in the works or anything like that, but Saudi and Qatar are reportedly interested in him as well. But I mean, once Pep says, I want you, you know, that relationship is so strong. And Pep said it himself there. He's made it clear now that he wants Gundogan at the football club. And what that brings to us a level of behind-the-scenes composure, or behind-the-scenes lack of pressure, cooling everybody down. And because he doesn't feel the pressure, Gundogan. He's such a high-quality player that you'd think would struggle under certain pressure. But every player struggles with certain degrees of pressure, but he doesn't feel it ever. He's the most composed person I've ever seen on a football pitch, other than maybe Mahrez. I think those two are having immense levels of handling pressure. Absolutely insane. Now, other reports are suggesting that there was going to be a swap deal for Cancelo. That's been shot down. That's not true, which I'm not surprised at either. But the whole deal with Barcelona, in fact, our relationship with Barcelona is very interesting as well, because this is obviously factoring into it now. You've had Ferran Torres go in the way of Barcelona, and at that same level of thought process that I'm going through is the money that we're owed for the Ferran Torres deal. Reports City are planning on taking Barcelona to court to get some legal action to get the ball motoring, to get the money that they're owed. The big blue bailiff coming knocking on the Barcelona door saying, where's my money? Understandably so. I mean, we're not a fucking charity, mate. You know what I mean? We are generosity coming out the ears at the minute from Manchester City to allow a football club to owe another football club like that. I've never heard anything like that. It's insane that we're being so generous. I think it's time to wind them in a little bit, you know, get Barcelona paying up. Could the Gundogan deal be part of that? Possibly. Probably not. I feel like it would be kept completely separate, because I don't think you can work in a new contract into an already existing contract. I think the whole thing would have to be scrapped and rewritten to begin with. I don't know the legality side of it when you start merging contracts like that, one pre-existing as well. It gets too complicated. So I don't believe that will be part of it either. I think this is a totally separate deal. And it's almost like Barcelona have been for quite some time acting like a rich man who's spent all his money and doesn't want to admit that he's broke. You know, he's got to admit that you might want all these fancy players, all these superstar players, blockbuster names. I'm sorry. If you can't afford them, you can't afford them. That's from Barcelona's perspective. But from Manchester City's perspective, we can absolutely afford them. But we're not even having to spend money for Gundogan, other than his wages, of course, which I'm hoping don't become a stumbling block. I doubt they will, to be honest, because, I mean, he doesn't strike me as the type, Gundogan. There was also a report suggesting that Deco proposed a straight swap for Rodri. That's what I would have been doing if I was Cheeky Bergenstein. I'd have been like, what? What the hell are you talking about, mate? Are you for real? You want to swap Rodri for Gundogan? As good as Gundogan is, mate, you're fucking Rodri. You know what I mean? There's about £150 million asset sat there, and you want to swap him for Gundogan, that 30-plus-year-old Gundogan. Not a chance, mate. Deco, absolutely out of his mind trying to get a good deal. And that's what I'm saying. Barcelona think they're entitled to Rodri. Are you having a laugh? Like that, not a chance. Absolutely not a chance. Other reports, Pep has approved this. He said he wants him. He would like him to be part of the Manchester City squad. With Gundogan and his representatives, well, sorry, not Gundogan, but his representatives are already in Manchester hashing out a deal to get this over the line, potentially before Ipswich. We could see him being announced, and we were all worried about that goodbye that we never got to give him. We might be able to give him a big hurrah when he comes back to the Etihad, and that would be so sweet. It would be so sweet. Now, one thing I don't want to do is piss on anyone's cornflakes, and this is a very exciting time to be a Manchester City fan. I have a feeling this is a good deal. I don't feel like there's any sort of negatives, but if you wanted to compare it to situations, there aren't too many stories of classic players for their for their clubs going back and having a success story. Do you know what I mean? You think of Sean Wright-Phillips coming back. He did okay. Right? He did all right. There was nothing wow about it. He did all right. It was enjoyable. While it lasted, it was enjoyable. It was a little short-lived, enjoyable period of time to see Sean Wright-Phillips and his Never been many disasters either. Actually, probably I would consider the Cristiano Ronaldo return to be a disaster of a return to a football club, going back to Manchester United, and he destroyed the dressing rooms, storming off at half time before a final whistle had even been blown because he realised he wasn't coming off the bench, so he just walked out of Old Trafford. Do you know what I mean? Tell you what, you will not be getting that from Ilkay Gündoğan. You will not be seeing that level of piss poor attitude from Gündoğan, which is why I'm excited. Obviously Scholes as well, he came back, he did win the league with United, but maybe his involvement at Scholes going back to United was a little bit more behind the scenes, and I feel like Gündoğan could be a little bit of that as well, a little bit more on the training ground. He was obviously being groomed into a coach under Pep Guardiola, and we've already seen the absolute immense talent that's gone out into the world as a disciple of Pep Guardiola. We faced one the other day with Maresca. We faced one for the last 2 years in Mikel Arteta. We could face one in the Champions League in Vincent Kompany. There's a host of them that just goes to show how good a manager Pep Guardiola is, to see so many of his understudies going on to blossom elsewhere in the world. You don't see many of the Fergie guys going out and doing that well, do you? Do you know what I mean? Gündoğan could be one of them. I feel like Gündoğan could be a coach at Manchester City for at least one more year. I just can't get over how immense this news is. Now, the only thing left to question really is, where will he play? That's a really interesting topic, and I mean, I don't think he would be thrown straight into a starting 11 straight away. I feel like he's another one of these 1.5 players. Do you know what I mean? We've got so many of them now. 1.5 players now, I'm starting to call them, where they can do more than one job. Do you know what I mean? They are more than one player. You know, Bernardo Silva, he's like 8 players, Bernardo Silva. He can play all over the pitch, Bernardo Silva. But you think of Kevin De Bruyne, his new role is drifting out onto the left, which is interesting. He can play as a bit of an 8, but best as a number 10, isn't he? Kevin De Bruyne. You know what Bernardo Silva can do. You think Kovacic could probably play as an 8. He can play as a 6. We found that out recently. Gündoğan, you know he can play he's previously played as a 6 and as an 8, even as a number 10 as well in the pockets. You know, Phil Foden, he's another 1.5 players that can play in multiple positions. Gündoğan is going to cover multiple positions, I think, and that's what's the great addition that he will bring. You know, he can cover for Rodri and for Kovacic. He can cover for Kevin De Bruyne or Phil Foden. We could have De Bruyne and Gündoğan again in the 2 pockets with Rodri behind them, which is exciting. But I don't think Gündoğan is going to be guaranteed thrown in every game. I don't think we're going to get every game from Gündoğan, but I do think he's going to get a reasonable amount of minutes. But for who? Someone's going to be harshly treated by the arrival of Gündoğan, and I feel like it could be Kovacic, because he's been immense in the Community Shield and in the game against Chelsea, hands down man of the match. He bossed that midfield. So it's a little bit risky from a man management perspective for the players to see the best midfielder that was on the pitch against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge to be dropped because Gündoğan's come back. I feel like that's harsh on Kovacic from a management perspective. But it is Ilkay Gündoğan, so you know what he's bringing to the team, and it's exciting. It's an amazing headache to have for Pep Guardiola. There's no two ways about it. It's great news that he has now got these options, and that whole debate of how do we cover Rodri, sorted, absolutely sorted. Now, only question is left is a potential striker with that Mubama coming from West Ham, potentially another young lad that may be joining the ranks of Manchester City. Looks interesting, big lad, left foot, sounds familiar to a certain striker that we already have, so that could be interesting. But for me, Gündoğan is the absolute headliner of this transfer window, and it strikes fear into the rivals as well, because we know what United have faced against Gündoğan. Liverpool have faced it. Gündoğan as well, he can give Arsenal a taste of the medicine that he dished out to Liverpool fans, and United fans, and can't wait. I can't wait. Blues, I know what you think. I'm going to ask what you think anyway, but I know what you think. Get in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silver.